super quickly, before I take you through the interview, make sure you hit the subscribe button on this page so that you're linked in to watching interviews from the top thought leaders in the personal development space and the spirituality space, as well as I want to give you my entire 30-day video training program to claim your power and own your truth. So head over to gamechanger-women.com and I'll be seeing you over there. Enjoy the interview.
Today we have the wonderful and very talented Dr. Demartini, speaking to him again. And I would like to say a personal thank you, Dr. Demartini, because last year's summit that we did, you were the first person to jump on, and it actually drew a lot of people, and your wonderful energy and the type of people we had on the summit showed the authenticity, love, and the great value that they held for themselves. And that's something I'd like to talk about today. Your new book around values. I've got it here on my iPad, The Values Factor. Firstly, thank you again for being on the call. I am excited. I've had to come to my mother-in-law's to record because our wonderful new house doesn't have the internet. So I'm sitting in a room with graduation photos of my wife when she was pregnant and all sorts of things. So I'm looking forward to the call today. Could you today explore with us through the values that you've written in this new book of yours, The Values Factor?
Well, I've been involved in, as you know, the field of maximizing human awareness and potential for over 4 decades. And one thing that I am certain about that is crucial to mastering oneself and having self-governance is knowing what's truly important to you. And many people unknowingly are subordinating to outer influences and pursuing things that aren't truly inspiring to them. They're fantasies. And I've always been fascinated why people do that and what that leads to. It leads to an internal self-depreciation because they're striving for something that's not really them. And integrity and authenticity starts from knowing what's truly valuable to. So I created the Values Factor book because values underlie the mastery of all areas of our life. And that's what I've done. In this book, I've taken and looked at all the 7 primary areas of life: our spiritual quest, our mind development, our career, our finances, our family, and our relationships with people socially, and our health, and showed how living congruently impacts all those areas, and specific action steps and tools and methods that assist them in empowering and mastering those areas. So maybe I can discuss some of those in our discussion here.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Because the field of values revolves around an ology, a discipline called axiology.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
And axiology is a study of values and worth, or value and worth. Economics is derived from it, and theology is derived from it. So every human being lives by a set of priorities, a set of values, things that are most important to least important in their life, and things that are truly, truly, truly most important to them. They spontaneously are inspired from within to pursue it and do it. Nobody ever has to remind me to get up and speak. Nobody has to remind me to do my research. Nobody has to remind me to explore the laws of the universe as it relates to human behavior. So that's so high in my values that I spontaneously am inspired from within to pursue it and to act on it and fulfill it. Accessing that and knowing that, whatever the most important thing, is the key to achievement. Because anytime you set your attentions and your intentions congruently and in alignment with what's truly valuable to you, you have the highest probability of achievement, highest probability of doing what you say, walking your talk, not limping your life, and the highest probability of emerging as a leader, because you'll have more certainty in doing what you say. You'll tend to expand your space and time horizons by pursuing the next thing, because once you achieve it, you'll go on the next thing, and they'll keep expanding. So your sphere of awareness and influence continues to expand in accordance to the congruency between your highest values and your attentions and intentions. So identifying what that is the first chapter, really. First outlining what values are and how they run a human being's life. Because every decision a human being makes is based on what they believe will give them the greatest advantage over disadvantage, greatest reward over risk to what's highest on their value. So everything they perceive in the world, do in the world, and act on the world is based on it. So the first portion is educating people about what values are. The second portion of it is about how to determine what those are, how to determine what's really valuable to you. I'd be glad to go over those determinants.
Yeah, and just before we continue, Doctor, that's very fascinating, because I read a survey in New Zealand where the number one value, 1,500 people they surveyed in New Zealand, the number one value was family. But I also read another statistic that we have some of the highest domestic violence in the world. So how could we value family and then have that statistic? It's like a conflict of values. I mean, we value work, but if you talk to I've talked to a lot of people, you say they value their family, but work seems to be higher than actually spending time with their family. How would you explain this?
Really simple. The majority of people, when I ask them, I've asked over 1 million people tell me what your values are. 99.999999999% of them don't know. They think they know.
Yeah.
So what they do is they ramble off what social idealisms are, what they think it's supposed to be, what it should be according to their authorities, but not what their life demonstrates. Your highest value is demonstrated by your life. What your life demonstrates is what your values are.
So how is it, like if you say to somebody, say someone comes to your course and they say, well, my value is family, and then you ask them deeper level questions and you find they're not spending time with their family, how do you get them to look at that?
Well, let's go over the value determinants
Okay.
that I find in the book to help you look at what's real. Because, by the way, let me go off on a tangent first, though. Domestic violence is very commonly a byproduct of 5 disempowered areas in your life. I've done a study of this, and it's not limited to domestic violence at home. The domestic violence in a country is a corollary with the same 5 disempowered areas. At Harvard University, they showed that there were 7 areas of life, which I just outlined, and the more areas of disempowerment, the higher the violence goes on. So if you have, for instance, a woman who has very little education, so she's not empowered intellectually, she does not have a career path, and she doesn't have an income because of that. She does not have any savings, so she doesn't have a financial power, doesn't have a career power, doesn't have an intellectual power.
Sounds disempowering already.
Does not have a lot of friends, and is isolated at home with children, and is physically meek, and is not able to defend themselves with martial arts, and is dedicated to the fantasy of peace and the fantasy of nurture, and they're addicted to and subordinate to somebody protecting them, those people notoriously will end up in domestic violence situations. Because they're the more areas of disempowerment, the higher the probability of domestic violence. So the more areas you empower, the less probability. So when I have people that have been under series of domestic violences, and we start to initiate empowerment in each of these areas by defining what their values are, start organizing their life accordingly, get them onto an education system, get them back into a career for some form, these other things melt away. Now, the spouse may attempt to suppress that initially, but if a person's empowered enough to say thank you, but no thank you, they move on. Or they soften the person, because many times when the person that's disempowered gets empowered, the person that's overpowered calms down their power. This is a normal process. Or the person just moves on to the next relationship and learns their lesson. So the key is empowerment, personal empowered. And so let's go back to the values for a second.
Okay.
And let's look at what are the key value determinants, which is I outline in the book. And I highly recommend the book. I know I'm biased when I say that, but I really believe that we worked and published this with Penguin. I think we did a nice job on it. And I think that it can really, truly help somebody in empowering these areas and not live in delusions and fantasies about who they are. So let's just go through the value determinants. The first one that determines your values is how you fill your space.
Yes.
So if you look in your personal space, things that are not valuable to you go into the garage, the attic, or the trash.
Yeah.
And the more, if it has zero value, it's trash. If it's really low value, it's probably occasionally used. It'll be in the garage or attic. If it's very high, the higher the value it has, the more you'll have it surround you within your sight, where you can see it, touch it, feel it, experience it.
Oh, that's easy to understand. Yeah.
Okay, so you can sit down and say all kind of stuff about what your values are, but your life demonstrates them. So you look at what is in your space. Now, if you go to my space, right now I'm sitting here. I got 3 bags of books. I have about 75 books sitting right in reaching. And in my office in Houston, I have probably 10,000 books. In my ship, I have books. I have wherever I have my offices, everywhere I've got books, and I've got a computer with internet research. So if I look at what I fill my space in, it's learning, and it's teaching, and it's research. So I don't have to. I can make up anything, but what's actually there is what tells and reveals what's important. So your actions speak louder than your words. Most people are going to say what they think they should say by social ideals, and that's why they don't really even know their values, because they're just so injected by outside forces that they don't really look honestly at what they do.
Because a lot of us, and it brings up a point, because a lot of us still, for the people out here, a lot of the times we're looking for social validation. Like a person like yourself obviously doesn't need that, so you create what you create, but the majority of people seem to be, if my friends like me or my family like me, then I'm okay.
Well, I'd rather have the whole world against me than my own soul. And I live by what I call the law of lesser pissers.
Sorry, say that again?
I live by what is called the law of lesser pissers. Pissers is that if I have a choice of pissing others off or myself, I'll usually piss others off. But you got to realize that is an acronym for purposely inspired spiritual service.
I like that one, yeah.
Joking. But what I do is I look at what the space is, because that tells me a lot. And many times you'll see, because if children are really highest on your value, children's stuff will be all around you. Children will be all around you. Children's toys will be around you. Children's clothes will be around you. Children's stuff will be in your life. And if business is important to you, then you'll see business materials. You'll see whatever it takes to grow your business will be all within reach. So you look at your space, because the more proximal an item is to your space, the more important it is. And the more distal and distant it is, the less important. Basic principle. And you look at your personal space where you spend most of your time. So you may have a house, this giant house, but you may only spend a little bit of time in most of it. Most of the time you're in 2 or 3 locations.
I'm thinking about it myself, yeah.
You look at where do you really spend your time in the house, and what's in that space. That's what you do.
Books and computers. And this brings up a good point for a lot of people in my mastermind group, is that this is something I can bring to them and people listening out here. It's practical and simple. The closest things to you are what you value.
That's it. Oh. So if you gave a woman, let's say a man came to a woman and said, I love you and that I want to marry you, and hands her a diamond ring. And let's say she values him and wants to get married to him. That diamond ring is going to be on her finger. It's not coming off that finger.
And it's close.
Now, if she all of a sudden hates him and they end up with a major fight and they break up, she may take that ring, and if she's probably unwise, she'll probably throw it in the trash. If she's wise, she'll take it down there and melt it down and get some gold and get some diamonds out of it. But the point is if it's not valuable to her, she tosses it. She wants it. She doesn't want it. But if she's valuable, she doesn't want it. It's not going to come off her hand. So the first determinant is, how do you fill your space? Cool. And you have to be honest with yourself, because I tell people when they're determining it, and by the way, they can go to my website and they can get a free download.
I've got it right here.
On how to determine your values. So they go to drdemartini.com.
Yes.
And they go onto the menu on the left side. You can hit value determination. There'll be another little menu that comes up and says how to determine your value. Hit that button, and it'll give you a little booklet for free.
Yeah, I've done it. It's fantastic.
And it gives you all the questions.
Yeah.
All you got to do is fill it out. Simple thing. I've used it all over the world. Now,
Here's a question. Sorry, Dr. Demartini. I filled it out a year ago when we did it the first time. If I was to go back again and redo it, I'm imagining I would see a different value structure appear. Is that true?
what will happen is you have the proper term, value structure. That's the term for it. Your hierarchy of values, your list of priorities, is called a value structure. And you are evolving. When you're 0 to 10, you typically like to play. When you're 10 to 20, you want to socialize. When you're 20 to 30, you want to find a relationship and a career. When you're 30 to 40, you want to stabilize a family and that career. When you're 40 to 50, people typically have an affair. I'm joking.
No, I don't want to do that.
But there are differences decade by decade in our life. And that's not necessarily on the decade, but it could be anywhere along the life. But anything that's extremely supportive or challenging, pleasurable or painful, that comes along the way, it can tweak the values and change our direction. The hierarchy of our values dictates our destiny, but since we have a change in values, we have a series of destinies, and the series of destinies make up what is called the life journey. So our life journey is evolving. And just like a tree, it has to move around and lose branches and grow new branches along the way. So your values, some are more changing than others, and some are more stable. Some are called the fringe, some are called the core. But the more core they are, the more stable they are long term. In my case, 42 years, learning and teaching has been high on my value. That hasn't changed. What I've taught may have evolved, but the love of teaching is something I just love doing. So some may be changing, some may be not. But doing an evaluation, I recommend doing it quarterly, because the value of knowing that, I'll explain as we go further once we've gone past the determinants. The second determinant is, how do you spend your time? Now, what you do is let's say you sleep 4 hours, 5, 6, my case about 5 last night, but 4, 5, 6, 7, or maybe even 8 hours. And whatever the difference is, you look at what you spend your time on. What do you dominate your time doing? So in my case, most every day of the year, I'm at over 70 speeches already this year. I'm speaking, I'm teaching. If not, I'm researching or writing. So those are my highest values. So if I look at how I spend my time, I'm teaching 10, 12, 14 hours a day sometimes. And then I'm researching the rest of the time, and that dominates my time. But you have to look at what dominates yours. And that means that what do you do in those 17, 16, or 15, or 18 hours you have remaining in that 24-hour day that you're not sleeping? What's the dominant thing you're doing in that time? And what does that really represent? So if you're at work, what does that really represent to you? Does it represent pursuing a career? Does it represent making an income? Does it represent stability? What does it represent to you really? And then look at, what do you spend your second most important time on? So if you spend 12 hours a day at work, or 10 hours a day at work, then obviously whatever that is important to you. And I had a woman one time that tried to tell me, well, her kids were the most important thing in her life. And I said, well, let's look at what your life demonstrates. And we found out that she was 9 to 10 hours a day on average at work. She was another 2 hours a day at night dealing with her company. She worked out 40 minutes a day on average. She socialized with friends on average an hour a day. And she was actually with her kids on average 2 hours a day. So when we totaled it out, I said, your kids aren't your highest value. And she didn't want to face that, but she finally did. I said, if your children were highest on your value, you would make sure that you married a guy that would take care of business and finance. If you have a high value on having your autonomy, your independence, and have children, but children aren't your highest, so don't lie to yourself. And when she did, she cried a little bit. And she goes, I have this internal conflict because I think I should be there with my kids more, but I keep wanting to go to my business. I keep wanting to make my business, and I keep wanting to make sure I make money, and I keep wanting to do that. I said, you can sit and lie to yourself, but your actions speak louder than your words. And there's nothing wrong. Nobody's right and wrong for what their values are. Somebody has to be dedicated to business. Other people may be dedicated to family, others social causes, others health and some spirituality or whatever it may be. There's no right and wrong in what these values are, but people who subordinate to other people judge themselves according to other people's values and think there's something wrong with them. and therefore they want to lie to themselves about what's important. This happens all the time.
Yeah.
That's why very few people know their values.
That's fascinating. And what about for the, like, you know, because we have the limbic system in which, you know, fight, flight, freeze, and I think faint. What about the value when we're threatened by going to like a new area or a new growth stage in our life? I notice a lot of people will jump to the safety. They'll stack that right on the top and want to feel safe before they can move again. Do you encounter people trying to move? What am I saying? Do you notice that people want to keep themselves safe first within their values, which seems to be a natural part of the human condition, before they'll want to actually grow into a higher value or restack it again?
Well, anytime you're living by your highest values, you're willing to embrace pain and pleasure in the pursuit of that mission, that purpose. Your highest value is what's purposeful for you. So anytime you're living congruently and in alignment with your highest values, you have the greatest resilience, the greatest adaptability to change, and you're more willing to embrace pain and pleasure in the pursuit of what's important. Anytime you're injecting the values of others and subordinating to other people and trying to be somebody you're not, you're setting up a fantasy. Because anytime you try to live outside your values, you're setting up a fantasy, and that fantasy will lead to a nightmare called the ABCDs of negativity, where you are internally angry at yourself because you're not living up to what you keep thinking you want to do, because what you want to do isn't really what you want to do. And then you end up the ABCDs of negativity, which are anger and aggression, blame, feelings of betrayal, criticism and challenge, despondency and depression. So anytime you set a goal that's not aligned with your highest values, you are less resilient. And you're looking for immediate gratification and an easy path to compensate for the fear. And you're generating fear because you're setting up a goal that's not yours. And so it's normal to want to keep in your comfort zone when you're not living congruently. The key to emerging out of comfort zones and living extraordinary lives is congruency and having known what these values are and setting goals accordingly. It's the key. I mean, I can take anybody who's in fear and immobilized and in the fight or flight mechanism, and there's a series of questions that can dissolve that and get them back onto track to the highest priority. And the second they do, their resilience levels go right up. And they can handle more challenge and new changes in their life. It's essential. So then we go to the next one. The third value determinant, besides time, because you got what I do is I ask people, what are the three things that you fill your space with? What are the three most things you spend your time most on? And then the next one is, what is it that energizes you? Because when you're doing things that are high in your values, you have more energy at the end of the day than when you started. And when you're doing things that are low on your values, you're drained. You go, what a hell of a day. So anytime you're doing things that are high in your values, you're gaining energy. You're building energy because you love doing it. You can't wait to get up in the morning and do it. You're inspired to do it. So you literally build momentum and energy throughout the day doing it. We've all had days where the days zip by and we're half of the day and we're inspired and we got energy and we're like alive. And other days we go, wow, made it through that one. And that's because you're seeing how what you're doing is congruent with your highest values or not. So I asked, the third one is, what energizes you and what do you always find energy for? See, I can get 4 hours sleep in days sometimes, but if I got a speech, I'm up there. I always have energy for my presentation and I get my research done within the time frames that I set. So those are things that I don't let myself down on. I always have energy for, etc. And everybody has this, but they may never have identified it. Or it may be an area that they don't want to admit to themselves and they resist it, but it's there. And identifying what that is and defining the three things that energizes the most is crucial. Now, what's interesting is as you look at how you fill your space and your time and what energizes you, you'll find the same answers coming up. For instance, if I look at mine, how do I fill my space? Literature, research, materials to help me study. How do I spend my time? Researching and teaching. What energizes me? Presenting information and learning and discovering new information. So they're really the same message if they're congruent. The next value determinant is what do you spend your money on and what do you always find money for? Because the truth is, things that you value, you'll find money for it. You'll figure out how to get money for things that are truly valuable to you, most important to you. And you'll spend the money on it. Yeah. I know a woman that could not pay her rent, but had new shoes almost every month. Jimmy Choo shoes were more valuable to her than paid rent. So she would literally run out of money for her rent, but always have money for her shoes. I'm joking a little bit. That's a true story, but I'm joking in the sense of that's how radical values are.
So why is it that a lot of people, or not most, I'll say a lot of people won't invest in the resource of who they are. They'll invest in what they can get, like TV. People will spend $5,000 on a TV, where if they put it into a course or something, or a reading study course, they would be investing in the person that is doing the thing that's going to create value, which is themselves. How do you?
Anytime, that's a really simple answer. When you're living according to your highest values, you can't wait to get up in the morning and you're inspired and you want to learn more about what that is. So people they would rather read a fact book than a fiction book, and rather do than watch it as a spectator. But whenever you're not doing what's important to you, what's highest on your value, because you're unfulfilled, you'll seek immediate gratification, which is a form of dopamine search, which is consumerism. And so you'll consume immediate gratifying things to compensate for the unfulfillment of our highest values. Addictive behavior is a byproduct of unfulfilled highest values. So the second you're going out and consuming things that depreciate in value, you're devaluing yourself.
That makes perfect sense, because when I was playing professional basketball, I was sleeping around, I was traveling, I was playing sport, I had it all, 5-star hotels, I had it all, but this feeling in my chest was so intense that I was unable to, I couldn't get away from it. It was this feeling. And what I realized later on is that the feeling was to be connected to family, but to be loving, to be authentic and caring. And I was trying to drink it away, sleep it away, sport it away, and it just was so intense that makes perfect sense, that I wasn't meeting the values. And that's my next question. Are values, this is for me, are values located in the body in this region?
Well, it's not. Values is not located in any region. Whenever you have perceptions, based on the perception you have, those emotions that emerge from those perceptions relative to your values show up in various regions in the body.
So this was like I felt these emotions in here, like a suppression.
The part you feel in the lung and the rib cage, when you're frustrated and you feel like you're not getting what you want, you'll feel tightness and a band, like a belt around your lungs, around your chest, and it makes it difficulty to breathe. But if you get really angry because you have an unrealistic expectation for other people to live in your values or for you to live in somebody else's values, you'll feel it down in the gut, in the liver area. And if you feel really bitter to somebody, you'll feel it in the pancreatic area. There are certain regions of the body that thermoscans will show act under different emotions. And the musculature around that area will armor itself off, and you'll feel tightness in that area and warmth in that area and tension in that area. So it's not because of just not fulfilling the values. Not fulfilling the values in certain perceptions affect different parts of the body. So the fourth one is, how do you spend your money and what do you always find money for? And you find the three answers again. Now, the fifth one is, where are you most ordered and organized? If you look really carefully, somewhere in your life, there's a lot of order. In my case, it's knowledge. Okay, I have a tremendous amount. I have thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of pages, 365,000 pages of written, organized information that I've accumulated. So that's one area. Some people have organization in the way they manage their kids. They can put the kids together and get them off to school, and they're just highly organized. Others are their workout routine. Others are their makeup. Others are their clothes in their closet. Others are their yoga routine. Others their spiritual routines. Others are their working and managing people. They're amazing. Others are just structuring their health and the way they eat and nutrition and vitamins. So you look at where they're most ordered and organized, because you tend to bring order and organization to things that are truly valuable to you, and you tend to have chaos in things that aren't. That's why people want to be identified and identify themselves by their highest values. Their ontological identity and being is their highest value. But they don't like to be identified, and they're disowned in the area of their lowest values. So you look at where they're most ordered and organized, and that's a big indicator of what's valuable to them. The sixth value determinant is, where are you most disciplined, reliable, and focused? Where is it that nobody has to remind you to do something? See, nobody has to remind me to go and do my research. Nobody. I've been researching for 42 years. Nobody ever has to say, John, you need to do your research, man. Nobody has to say, hey, John, you need to get up on that stage and speak. I'd never have a problem with that because that's high on my values. I love doing it. I'm always disciplined, reliable, and I'm focused on it. So if you look at where you're disciplined, reliable, and focused, where nobody has to remind you, nobody has to incentivize you, nobody has to motivate you, nobody has to get you to do it, and look at what that is, that's where your value is. Now, some people don't want to admit that because they have a high value on something that doesn't match the fantasy about who they think they should be because of injected values. But you got to look at what's honest. The only way to do this value determination is to be integral and honest with yourself, because the answers and the quality of the answers and the impact it'll have is based on how well you answer these questions. So that's the sixth one. The seventh one is, what is it you dominate your thought on about how you want your life that is showing evidence of coming true? So I've thought since I was 17, I thought about traveling the world and teaching. Okay, so 42 years. And that's what shows evidence of coming true. So what is it you think about? What is your innermost dominant thought that you think about most about how you want your life that is showing evidence gradually of coming true? May not be fully there, but it's in the motion. As long as there's evidence of coming true, that's fine. But if there's no evidence, you show you keep beating yourself up because you think you're thinking about it and all it is negative thoughts. That's not what I'm asking for. I'm only talking about the thoughts that you actually think about how you want your life that are coming true. That's very important to get that distinction. The next value determinant, you answer 3 of those. Next one is, what are you visualizing about how you want your life that shows evidence of coming true? So I've envisioned myself standing on stages around the world and impacting millions of people. It's coming true now. So you got to look at what do you visualize that is inspiring to you, that you just go, wow, that's how I want it. You would call it putting it on the vision board. But if you put stuff on a vision board that never comes true year after year after year, it's fantasy. If you put something on a vision board that shows evidence of manifesting, that's reality. That's the one you want. So in your case, you may have envisioned doing these webinars or these instructional summits. But whatever it is, they're coming true. So they're obviously valuable enough to pursue whatever it takes to go through the pains and pleasures to get them to manifest. So if it's high in your value, you can't get it out of your mind. You can't not think about it. You can't not visualize it. It's just spontaneously emerges in your thinking and your vision. The next determinant value is your internal dialogue, your self-auto conversations. What are you talking to yourself about how you want your life that shows evidence of coming true? Again, it's the evidence of coming true that's the key. Because if you talk to yourself and go, oh, I'm so stupid, why am I keep doing that? That means you're setting goals that are somebody else's values, not your own, and you're getting the normal response, which is a negative feedback to let you know you're not being authentic. You only beat yourself up when you're trying to be somebody you're not, because you never beat yourself up when you're being true to yourself. So the second you set out your internal dialogue in a way that's showing evidence of coming true, and mine is that I'm an international professional speaker traveling all over the world speaking, reaching millions of people and inspiring lives all over the planet.
I love that.
Okay, so that's reality today. That's a congruent statement inside that's aligned with what's truly valuable to me. The next one, and you answer that three internal dialogues that are coming true. The next one is, what do you converse with other people about when you're in social settings most? So you've all of us have had people come up to us and say, how's your children? Because they want to talk about the children. Or how's your business? Or how's your investments? Or how's the sports team? Or what do you think about the politics today? They always want to bring the conversation to what's most valuable to them. What do you want to bring the conversation to? What do you want to talk about when you're in social settings? And if you get to, you'll talk all night about it. That's what you're trying to find, because you spontaneously are extroverted and spontaneously vocal when you're getting to express what's highest on your value.
So and that's fantastic, John. So what I've heard and what I've been involved in my life, and for the people listening out here, this is fantastic. I'm actually going to go and look at implementing this in my life now. So what about for the people, and it bloody annoys me now, where they covertly talk about other people while the other person's not there. So in New Zealand, it's rife. So you go into a conversation pub and they talk about John. John, did you hear about John? He's not doing this and this. His wife's left him, da-da-da. and they all sit around getting satisfaction and talking about a person that's not there. The energy's low. It seems to be a disease.
Well, it's a natural mechanism. Here's okay, let me explain what are the variables in that. It's been stated for centuries, and I mean centuries, that people who are congruent, inspired, in doing what they love, talk about visions and dreams of service. People who are unfulfilled partially usually talk about what they do and other people.
Do you have any stats on this? What are the stats? Like the people listening out here, because there's two types of people. The people that are totally inspired by this, I'm really inspired, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to go home and read this, buy this book, I'm going to implement it. Then you've got the other people that are going, oh man, this another dude that's fucking, oh sorry, excuse my language, kicking butt in the world. He's too up there. He's an amazing dude, but I'll never be that, because it seems to be in the Kiwis, and maybe other people are listening in the world. They might be coming from that point of view as well. And if it seems to be in the majority, then how can they listen to this so that they get moving in their life and stop bullshitting themselves? Excuse my language.
But the lowest level is conversations about other people, and here's why.
Ooh, now people listen to this. Listen to Dr. Demartini talk about this.
Okay, listen. Whenever you're subordinating to other people and injecting the values of other people that you put on pedestals, the outside heroes that you're spectating as a spectator, because you're not participating doing what you love, you're spectating. Those subordinations and the injections of other people's values, which you attempt to live by vicariously, which you can't, will lead to unfulfillment, will make you lead for immediate gratification, which is drinking, sex, and parties, and all the other things that are immediate dopamine stimulants. And you'll tend to want to talk about other people, to talk and put people down because you're feeling down about yourself. You're not fulfilled in your life. People that are inspired by their life don't have time for that. They have too many higher priority things. So whoever's listening, it doesn't matter if they're starting out right that way. Just know that if they start to find out what their highest values are, they start to prioritize their daily actions and start living congruently according to them, it changes. It doesn't matter where you start. It matters is what are you doing that allows you to master your life. So you could be sitting right now and want to talk about all kind of stuff about people and how things aren't working, but it's you stop right now and identify what your highest values are, start organizing and prioritizing your life, to start living it on a daily basis, start delegating and shedding lower priority things like a tree growing to the sun and shedding old branches, you can change your life. And you can all of a sudden not have time for that because you're too busy inspired by what's important to you and making a difference in serving people. So if a person wants to wallow and become a victim of their history instead of a master of their destiny, that's fine. There's nothing wrong. Somebody's going to play that role. Somebody's got to go to the football game and watch the football game and get drunk. Or the basketball game to get drunk. Personally, I'd rather be on the field playing, or I'd rather own the football team. But that's a sign of unfulfillment. And if they don't even know what their values are, they're probably going to live vicariously or attempt to live vicariously through other people.
So they could be sitting, like, potentially what I'm hearing is if they're not inspired by this conversation, then they could be listening from a place of, I'll call it the blame, justifying, oh, they've got it, he's doing it, that space.
Well, let me step back in case the people who may be listening don't know something about myself. I was born with my hand and foot turned in and had to wear braces as a child. At age 4, I finally got out of them. I begged my dad to get out of them because I was tired of being picked on and humiliated because no one wanted to be with me because I looked like a Forrest Gump kind of kid. And I got out of those. And then I ended up in first grade. I was told I would never be able to read or write or communicate, never amount to anything, never go very far in life. I didn't read my first book till I was 18. What? So I lived on the streets as a teenager. They don't know that, but I'm telling you that because they may be sitting out there thinking, well, he's got this different life, he had it easy, whatever. But I hung out on the streets. I used to live in a bowling alley when I was 13, behind the back of a bowling alley. Then I lived in a park. And when I was 15, I lived underneath a bridge and underneath a park bench and in a bathroom and then an abandoned car and finally an abandoned house. And and then when I was 14, I lived in Huntington Beach, California, behind the Golden Bear Club, where all the Buddy Miles and all these guys used to sing. and I used to get out there and they used to throw pretzels out there at the end, and I used to eat that way. So I know what it's like to be on the streets. I know what it's like to not have an education, because I didn't go back and take an education until I turned 18 when I learned how to read. So it doesn't matter where you start. What matters is, are you going to follow the principles that make a difference in your life? And all I'm trying to do is trying to share those. And yes, I have a fortunate life today. It's only because I got a small ass. I've worked it off. If you're willing to go to work and you're willing to master principles that stand the test of time, there's no reason why you can't do something amazing with your life. So whoever's listening out there, just know that there's no reason why you can't do something extraordinary. And the real you desires to. So you don't want to lie about it. You want to learn how to do it. And that's the key. And I'm certain that this will help. So let me continue on these values.
Yes, please.
After they've gone through and looked at what they want to converse with people about, the next one is what inspires them. And amazingly, some people go blank. They've never even thought about what inspires them. But there's something that has. Maybe it's watching a movie that brought tears of inspiration to them. Maybe it's hearing a song. Maybe it's being at a wedding or a baby's birth. But you got to find out what it is that's been common to the things that inspire you. So what inspires me is researching and finding another little piece of the giant, magnificent puzzle of the universe, and finding another piece on how to maximize human behavior. And another thing that inspires me is getting to go to another country and share with a new audience of thousands of people around the world. Another thing that inspires me is watching people who've overcome odds and done something extraordinary with their life. I met a 14-year-old girl the other day in Los Angeles that has already got a YouTube video that's a superstar. She's on her way. She's going to definitely be a superstar. Her name is Victoria Amaral, pardon me, and she's got a video called Shining Star. It's worth going and seeing. She's 14 years old. She was in my talk in Las Vegas to a few thousand doctors there, and she was there with her dad, and she was inspiring. And so seeing people that do extraordinary things, by you reading about it, studying about it, watching it, viewing it, listening to it, it awakens inside you your natural truth. Because that's the way you're designed to be authentic. Because when you live by your highest values, you wake up that inspiration. That's what happens inside you. So my advice is to surround yourself with the most inspiring great minds, great business leaders, great financial leaders, great family dynasties, great social political leaders, great physical fitness sports leaders and Olympic medalists, great spiritual leaders. Go and read the biographies of those people and look at what you have in common with them and wake up the realization that you already have all that. You have within you what it takes. When you do, finding out what inspires you and what's common to it is going to answer the three of those, the top three answers, will give you a revelation about what you're here for. The next one is, what are the three most consistent goals that you have focused on consistently, not given up on, and shown evidence of them coming true? Because those are the things that are important to you. In my case, researching and studying the greatest teachings on the face of the earth, collating them, summarizing them, synthesizing them, and putting them into products, services, ideas, seminars, workshops, everything I can get my hands on, and getting out to as many billion people as possible. So that's the goal. That's what I'm working on. So you got to find out what it is that you absolutely have as a goal, and you keep making it happen. And the last one is, what is it you can't wait to get up and study, read, learn, or listen to most? If you go to a bookstore, you typically beehive to the same area. And whatever that area is, and whatever you keep wanting to learn about most, is what's important to you. So if you go and find that out, answer the three, you'll end up with 39 answers, because there's 13 value determinants I just went over. You go through all 39 answers, and you go to the first one of the three, and you go, okay, now how many times did that show up as a synonym or an equal answer? Because the same answer is going to come up. And if you look and count down how many times that answer or its synonym or similar showed up, if it's basically the same thing, it's the same. And you cross them out and count them up and put the total at the top one. Then you go to the next value and go through and do the same thing. How many times did it show up? Cross them all out, put the total at the top. Do the next one until all of them are accounted for, and you'll probably end up with 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 values. And when you look at that, you'll go, that's truly what is important to me. Your life demonstrates that. Now you've got some foundation to start building your life around.
Brilliant.
Because once you know that, you now can then go, okay, I need to start organizing my life around that, because there's a law called Parkinson's law. Parkinson's law states that work fills the time allotted, but another way of in reverse saying it is, if you don't fill your day with high priority things that are meaningful and inspiring to you, your life's going to fill up with low priority distractions that are going to weigh you down.
Yes.
So you have to now take those highest priority values and now start asking yourself, what are the highest priority actions I can do today to help me fulfill these highest priority values in my life? How do I fill them? And stop, reflect, meditate, think, get mentorship if necessary, and prioritize actions daily. Because every time you do the ABCs and not the XYZs, you raise your self-worth and expand your space and time horizons and give yourself permission to do something more extraordinary. And if you do that in your business and in your personal life and all areas, even your spiritual quest, even in your studies, if you're sitting there and wanting to expand your mind, what are the highest priority books to read? What are the highest priority information to fill my mind with in a day? What are the highest priority actions I can do spiritually that allow me to have the most fulfillment, gratitude, and grace and love in my life? What is the highest priority things I can do for my physical well-being and fitness? What's the highest priority thing I can do to influence people and have a leadership role? Highest priority things I can do to show my love and appreciation to my family? And what are the 3 highest priority things I can do to grow my wealth today? Because if I'm not growing my wealth, I'm working my ass off for money all my life and being a slave instead of having it work for me. So you're basically going through there and prioritizing and start living according to what's truly meaningful to you. And to the degree that you do, you don't have time for spectator stuff. You don't have time for going and buying consumables, because you'd rather put your money into things that are helping you get what your dream is. Because immediate gratification costs long-term visions. Long-term vision pays. So people who prioritize their values, this whole book, The Values Factor, is crucial because it's basically laying out the foundation for a mastered life. It's that simple. And once you understand that and apply that, you have a higher probability of becoming a leader in whatever field you want, becoming wealthy in your life, having a greater relationship, feeling worthy enough to have an amazing relationship, extraordinary person in your life, and having genius awakened and high career achievements. All of them, we're designed to empower all those areas in our life, as far as I'm concerned. That's what I love doing, is helping people get that and realize that they have it already. And I've seen people that are down and out, that don't believe they have the capacities and come up with excuses and their victim mentality. I've seen them change their lives, and I've seen them in a matter of weeks and months completely shift that dynamic once they put this in operation.
I'm inspired with Dr. Demartini. What's next?
Well, I mean, the book is outlines all of this, outlines them all. But
does it have the practical activities within it too?
Every chapter has practical actions. Wow. Every one of them. I have a new values applications program that we've just launched in Tokyo, and we'll be going back in May and initiating this with the top corporate consulting companies. And they are coming on board, and they're going to incorporate it. They're going to be licensed to do it. But they're basically showing how to increase engagement in the hiring process and inspiring process at work, which is worth billions of dollars to these companies. The Sony and Panasonic and Uniqlo and these companies are incorporating it. And what it is you're basically, when you're about to hire somebody, imagine this. Because wherever people go, they carry their values. It's their values that are making every decision they make. So when you hire somebody, you have a job description hopefully planned out in advance. If not, you're crazy not to. You have a clear vision about what you want to do in your company. When you're hiring somebody, the best thing to do is do the value determination first. Never hire anybody without knowing what their values are. It's futile. Because if you know what their values are, you know what they're committed to. Because nobody's ever committed to go to work. They're committed to fulfill their values. If their job description and the vision of the company can help them fulfill those values, they're going to be inspired at work. They're going to be productive. They're going to take initiative. They won't need motivation. They won't need micromanaging. They won't have small immediate gratifications and distractions for breaks. They're going to be focused. So the first thing you do is you take the job description and you ask the we call it the applicant for the job, how specifically is doing this activity, this job duty, this responsibility going to help you fulfill that top value of yours? If they look at you and go, and they have to look for an answer, you put an X. because they're not that means that they're not seeing how that's going to help them fulfill themselves. Then you go to the next one, and you ask, how's doing this is going to help you fulfill your values? And if they look again, they go, I don't know, X. And then you go ask the next one. And if they go, oh, they can rattle off the answer. If they're fluent in their answer, they're congruent in that job duty. There's a congruency. Because congruency determines fluency. Yes. Those with a mission have a message. And they can fluently express the message to the degree of the congruency. So if you can ask them, how is this duty going to help them fulfill their highest values, and they can rattle off a bunch of answers just fluently, you put a check mark. If the check marks are 80% of all the job description check marks, they're a possible applicant. If the X's are more than 20%, say goodbye. Don't even think. You're going to be micromanaging, you're going to need incentives, and they're going to ask you what are the benefits packages before they ask what is my job description. Because they don't want to go to work. They're not inspired. You do not want to hire somebody that is not engaged and inspired by their work, because you're holding them back in their life, and you're going to destroy their health and their life, and you're going to destroy your company. It's stupid. So companies know that this is important. If they pass that and they are in the Y, the checks are way more than the X's, then you're now asked, how specifically is fulfilling the vision of the company going to help you fulfill your values? If they can't see that, but they are aligned to the actions, that means they're likely to come on board. They're going to learn everything they can. They're going to go start their own company. But they're not long-term, and they're not interested in the vision of the company. So if they don't see how fulfill the vision of the company is going to help fulfill the values, that means you have a short-term person. Now, if you need somebody for a one-year plan and you're turning over people every year, that's fine. But if you're looking for somebody that's going to take on accountabilities and move up a corporate ladder, you want to make sure that they're linked and congruent with the highest vision of the company and the mission of the company. So there's a tool right there, a very practical tool. It's worth billions of dollars. I mean, I got companies all over the world using it by the millions. It's worth $1 billion, that one insight, if a person applies it in their business. That's just one area in the book, and how to apply it. Then there's another one in relationships. Let's just look at relationships for a second. Everybody wants to be loved and appreciated for who they are. That's universal. And if they had only 24 hours to live, they show their love and appreciation to the people who contribute to their life. That's universal. So now you ask the question, who are they? And it boils down to whatever's highest on their value. So if your highest value is raising beautiful children and you're a mother, and somebody asks you, who are you? You'll say, I'm a mother. If your highest value is an entrepreneur and somebody asks you, who are you? You won't say father, you'll say, I'm an entrepreneur. If your highest value is sports and you're a sports person, you'll say, who are you? I'm a basketball player. You will always say, as an identity, ontologically, whatever your highest value is. So that means people want to be loved and appreciate who they are, and who they are is their highest value. Now, in a relationship, their highest value is what they're destined to do. That's their destiny. That's what's making their decisions. So if you're in a relationship and you don't know what their values are, the person you're in partnership with, and you don't know what your values are, you automatically got a wall up, because you're probably going to project your values onto them, or they're going to project their values onto you and try to get each other to live in each other's values. It doesn't work. So you first find out what their highest values are, and then you find out what your highest values are, and you ask the great question. These are two great questions for relationships. How specifically is what my partner's life values dedicated to? How does it help me fulfill what I'm dedicated to?
Can you say that again?
How specifically is what my partner is dedicated to, their highest three values? How specifically does it help me fulfill what I'm dedicated to, my three top values?
Oh, that's good.
Now, if you can't get an answer, if I went up to my girlfriend right now and I said, how specifically is me dedicating to researching and teaching around the world, helping you fulfill the values? If she goes, it's not, it's screwed up, it's not working, that's the problem, he's always wanting to do that, everything else. That relationship's going down, isn't it? Not going to work. But if she says, well, by him doing that, I get insights, I get time to do what I love doing, we communicate long distance sometimes, his leading of impacting people I get to leverage off of in my own business, and we actually rendezvous at romantic locations around the world, and she can rattle off a whole bunch of benefits. It works. But if she can't see what I'm dedicated to serves her, and I can't see what she's dedicated to serves me, there's no relationship. You got alternating monologues, and each person self-righteously is going to be projecting their values on the other person, trying to change them. And if any two people are the same, one's not necessary. So you first got to make the links. And so you answer that question, how specifically is what they're dedicated to serving you? And you answer that 50 times.
I'm already thinking about asking Kate about it when I get off the call.
It'll make a difference. You both answer this,
Yeah.
and then ask how specifically is what you're dedicated to serving your wife.
Yeah, that's the harder question.
Okay. But just know this, that most people live in this fantasy that they're supposed to be sacrificed in a relationship. If you're ignorant, you don't know how to handle relationships, sure. But if you know what you're doing, you ask how specifically is what they're dedicated to helping you fulfill your values. So you don't feel you're having to sacrifice. You're winning out of what they're doing. Now, if you can't see it, you got to ask and find it. And you got to wake it up. And that's what's in the book, how to wake that up. I can tell you, it can make a huge difference in a relationship and salvage relationships that are on the edge simply by doing that exercise, by asking those two questions. Then the third question you want to ask in relationship is, whatever they do that pushes my button, where do I do it and how does it serve me?
Oh, that's a nerve-touching question.
It's essential, though, because if you still think that you don't do what they do, you're not aware of who you are. I went through 4,628 traits in the Oxford Dictionary and found out I had every one of them. I was nice, mean, kind, cruel, honest, dishonest, giving, taking, generous, stingy, honest. I mean, I had every trait. So whatever I see in them is me. If I can't see it in them and I want to deny it in me, if I see it in them but I want to deny it in me, that means that they got a button on me. They're going to push my button. Because the only trait that pushes your button from people's actions are the traits you disown and haven't loved. So once I own the trait and appreciate that, I don't judge them. I just know that they're a human being. They have every trait. I do too. They are living by their values. If I'm expecting myself to have them live in if I'm expecting them to live in my values, I'm going to get betrayed because they can't. They make decisions out of their own values. If I'm expecting myself to live in their values, it won't work. Anytime somebody sacrifices for the other person and lives in somebody else's values, they're going to store it up as a memory and they're going to download it later on in a bitching fight.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. So it's wiser to know how to ask how specifically are our values helping each other fulfill each other.
Can you say it for me again so I can get it in my head?
How specifically are the top three values in your partner and what they're dedicated to helping you fulfill what you're dedicated to, your values? And then vice versa.
Okay, cool.
What's your top three values, what you're dedicated to, serving their top three values.
And this is in the book, The Values Factor.
It's in the Values Factor. It's also in my book, The Heart of Love, which I did on relationships. But the Values Factor outlines this, and it allows you to ask questions. One of the best things you'll ever do is go out to dinner, sit across from each other while you're waiting for your dinner, be doing this exercise. You will appreciate each other when you're done. You'll have greater love and intimacy if you do. You realize you don't need to fix them because they don't want to be fixed.
Yes.
And you don't want to be fixed. You want to be loved, appreciate who you are, and who you are your values. That's why the Values Factor is so important.
And Dr. Demartini, where can we get a hold of... I've got your website here, The Values Factor with the book. Can people go into your website to purchase it? Amazon? Which is the best place to go to get it?
No, well, we were number one on Amazon for quite a while, so you can certainly get it on Amazon and Kindle. You can definitely get it from my website. Hopefully you can get it from any bookstore. If not, order it. They'll get it for you. And but get it. But most people get it in a matter of a few seconds on Amazon. But I'm absolutely certain that the book will help people, and it gives them an advantage over people who don't know this work material. That's it.
And Dr. Thank you.
What's interesting is axiology, the study of values and worth, is the least known ology out there, but it's the most important. It's an irony. I've studied and I've gone over the world and found everything that's available on that topic and summarized it. Very few people even know about it. I'm bringing it out back to the world because it goes all the way back to the ancient Greeks, and it was known, but we just faded away. Why? Because so many people are sheep instead of shepherds. They're subordinating to other people. They've lost sight of who they are. They're told what to believe and what to do. In any area of your life you don't empower yourself, you're going to be overpowered by other people's beliefs and value systems. If you want to empower your life, you want to be a master of your life, this book can help you.
That's fantastic, and thank you for your passion today, Dr. Demartini. As everyone's listening out here, they see a man that's gone from, there's no excuses after hearing your story, and you've created a life that you're really passionate about. We can see it in you. And you're a man that lives a no-excuse life, I can see. So part of that too is you travel around the world, and just finishing up here, you run a program with a lot of friends have gone to it and they absolutely love the breakthrough experience. I think it's a 2-day weekend, is that right?
Yes, my signature program that I do about 40 to 45 times a year in various countries around the world is the breakthrough experience. It's where I do everything I can in 2 days, 24 hours, because we go from 8 in the morning till midnight at least, and again from 9 to about 7.
Wow.
24 hours. We do everything I can to help them break through whatever's in the way, to make sure they see everything on the way, not in the way. And I help them get clear on their values, structure their life, get clear on what they're going to create, their goals, their objectives, dissolve all the emotional baggage that's stopping them. I've developed a science on how to dissolve every emotional piece, anything that's emotional in their life that's distracting them or holding them back. I can show them exactly how to dissolve fears, guilt, shame, pride, grief, anything. I've got sciences for each one, so they know exactly what to do when they're confronted by a situation, so they don't have anything stop them from what they want to do. Breakthrough is about breaking through the game that's small so we can play the game that's big.
So if you're up for a big game there, people, Dr. Demartini, and actually the wonderful thing is he travels around the world doing this, and you also do it in New Zealand. So, and I know you come here on a regular basis, so any of the Kiwis out there, get down along to the breakthrough experience. It sounds like it could be a wonderful way to connect back into the values that you know you have inside of yourself.
That's true.
And so thank you for today, Dr. Demartini. A special thank you to you because you actually started the summit and it's grown from there.
Well, thank you. And whoever's listening out there, know that no matter what you've been through, no matter what you've gone through, no matter who you are, no matter what you've experienced, just know the truth about you is you have magnificence inside you. You have something extraordinary to do. So give yourself permission today to do something extraordinary. Because everybody wants to make a difference. And the greatest way to make a difference is to be the true you.
Hey, thanks for watching this interview. I have got a very cool gift just for you. It is a free 30-day video training program for women. So head over to gamechanger-women.com and it will take you through to the video training program, which is all about you really claiming your power, owning your truth and stepping up into your magnificence. So it's the full 30-day video training program, and if you want to get more interviews like this, interviews with top thought leaders in the personal development space, in the spiritual space, in the human potential space, then also subscribe to this channel so that you can make sure that you're connected in to more interviews.